The realtor called it a charming fixer-upper with income potential. 40 acres, old farmhouse, several outbuildings, all for a price that seemed too good to be true. That should have been our first warning. But we were too excited about finally getting out of the city, having space for the kids to grow up like I did. The property sat where County Road 43 met the highway, about 20 minutes from the nearest town. Previous owners were a farm family who'd sold off most of the good land years ago, keeping just the house and old buildings. Perfect for us. We wanted the rural life without actually having to farm. First few weeks were normal. Unpacking, fixing things, discovering all the quirks of an old house. The kids loved exploring the old barn and machine shed. My wife Sarah started planning her garden. I set up my home office in the front room, with a view of our long gravel driveway and the highway beyond. Working from home, I started noticing patterns. Cars would turn into our driveway late at night, drive partway up, then turn around and leave. First time, I thought they were lost. By the fifth time in 2 weeks, I knew something else was happening. They always followed the same routine. Between 1 and 3 a.m., usually on weeknights. Flash their lights twice at the top of the drive, wait exactly 2 minutes, then leave. Sometimes another car would show up within the hour, do the same thing. I installed security cameras, more to document than prevent. The footage showed different vehicles each time, but similar patterns. They'd pull up to where the old machine shed was just visible from the driveway. Wait, then go. No one ever got out. Sarah thought we should call the police. I wasn't so sure. In rural areas, cops sometimes know about things they pretend not to know about. Besides, no one was coming near the house or bothering us. But after we found empty gas cans and tire tracks behind the machine shed, I decided to make some calls. Started with the previous owners. Got a disconnect message. Tried the neighbors. They'd only say the Walkers moved away suddenly. No forwarding address. Finally called my old friend Mike at the county sheriff's office. "Listen," he said after a long pause. "You remember that big meth bust last year? The one that never made sense?" I did. They'd caught some dealers, but never found their supply source. That property you bought? Previous owners were involved. Not the manufacturing, just storage and distribution. They'd get deliveries at night, store everything in that machine shed. Perfect spot. Good sight lines, easy highway access, looked like normal farm traffic. Were they arrested? Disappeared 2 days before the raid. Someone tipped them off. We figured the organization would abandon the place, but he paused again. "Look, those cars turning around, they're checking if the site's active again, waiting for signals they used to get from the Walkers. Why didn't anyone tell us this before we bought it? Property was clean when it sold. Previous owners' names were kept out of the investigation. Some of the task force wanted to keep watching the place, see if anyone tried to reactivate it. So we're living in a police surveillance operation? Not officially. But those cars you're seeing, they're not just random traffic. They're checking if the new owners are part of the old network." He advised us to keep our routine normal. Don't confront anyone. Report suspicious activity through him, not the local police. Some of the original investigation's leads went places they couldn't follow. We stayed, but things changed. Started locking the gates at night. Installed better security lights. Taught the kids to memorize license plates, just in case. The cars still come sometimes, less often now. They flash their lights, wait, then leave. Last week, I found something behind a loose board in the machine shed, an old flip phone still working. Every few days, it gets a text with random numbers and letters. I gave it to Mike. He says it's their old communication system, still active. They haven't given up on this place. We're not moving. Can't afford to, for one thing. Property values around here aren't great, especially for places with history, but we've learned to live with it. Keep the cameras running, gates locked, lights on. Watch for patterns in the late-night traffic. Sometimes I sit in my office late at night, watching the highway. Most cars drive past. Some turn in, flash their lights, wait their 2 minutes. They're looking for signals they'll never see, responses they'll never get. But they keep checking, keep hoping. The kids don't play in the machine shed anymore. Sarah's garden is doing well. She planted it on the far side of the house. We're careful about maintaining routines, being visible, but not too visible. Just another family living on an old farm property. Nothing unusual. But every time I hear tires on gravel after midnight, I wonder if tonight's the night they decide to do more than just check. Wonder if somewhere, the Walkers are living on a beach, spending their drug money, laughing about the family living in their old drop point. Mike says we're safe, as long as we stay obvious, stay normal. Says the organization won't risk attention by bothering us. But he also mentioned they're putting a new task force together, watching the county roads at night. Something's still moving through this area. Something worth checking dead drops for, worth maintaining networks for. So we keep our lights on, our cameras running, our routines steady. And every morning, I check the machine shed, looking for signs we're not just living in an old farmhouse, but sitting on someone else's unfinished business. The old farmhouse needed updating, but the bones were good. No foundation issues, roof fairly new. The well needed testing, but that's standard for rural properties. Wish we'd looked closer at the incomplete records note in the report. I'm a contractor by trade, so most of the work I could do myself. My wife Jenny handled permits and paperwork, while I focused on repairs. The previous owners, the Reeves family, had lived there 30 years before moving suddenly. Property sat empty for 2 years before we bought it. The weird stuff started when we renovated the master bathroom. Behind the old vanity, we found a plastic bag taped to the pipe. Inside was a phone, old flip model, battery dead. A few days later, found a stack of mail behind a loose baseboard, all addressed to people who weren't the Reeves. Recent dates too, much later than when they supposedly moved. Jenny started researching the property history, found old newspaper articles about the Reeves, respected family, active in local politics. Father was on the county board, mother taught school. 3 kids, all grown now, but no record of where they moved to. No property purchases, no forwarding address. Local hardware store owner got quiet when Jenny mentioned the address. Said he remembered the Reeves. Shame what happened, he said, then clammed up. Wouldn't explain what he meant. I kept finding things during renovation. Prepaid phones hidden in walls, bundles of cash in the attic insulation, a gun wrapped in oilcloth under the porch boards. Started documenting everything, taking photos. Something wasn't right. The well testing came back inconclusive. Inspector said he needed to do a camera survey of the shaft. Day he was supposed to come out, got a call from his office. He'd been reassigned. Replacement would contact us. Never heard from them. Jenny's research hit a wall. Recent county records about the property were sealed. Requested copies through official channels. Got denied. No reason given. She tried the local newspaper archive next. Found a gap in their online records. 6 months missing, right around when the Reeves left. Local police weren't helpful. Said without evidence of a crime, they couldn't investigate. But one deputy pulled me aside after. Said if we were smart, we'd stop asking questions. Said sometimes old wells are better left uninspected. Last week, Jenny finally found something. Court records from 3 counties over. The Reeves' oldest son testified in a drug trafficking case. Day after his testimony, whole family vanished. Witness protection, probably. But they left something behind. We hired our own well inspector from the city. Camera showed something stuck about 60 feet down. He called the police before telling us what he saw. They sealed off our property for 2 days. Found 3 more phones down there, sealed in waterproof bags. And other things. Things that explained why the Reeves disappeared, why records were sealed. The detective said we're not in danger. The case is old. Everyone involved is dead or in prison. But we still see cars driving past slowly. Still get hang-up calls from blocked numbers. Jenny found a business card in our mailbox yesterday. Blank except for a phone number. Same model phone as the ones in the well. We're still renovating. Can't afford to move, and anyway, Jenny says running would look suspicious. But we work in pairs now, never alone. Document everything we find. Keep copies of records in multiple places. The well is sealed, filled with concrete. County approved it fast, no questions asked. Sometimes at night, I think about what else might be hidden in this house. Behind other walls, under other floors. The Reeves kept secrets for 30 years. Kept them well enough to buy their family a new life, new identities. But they left evidence. Left loose ends. The detective says we're safe. Says the past is buried, literally and figuratively. But he also mentioned they're reopening some old cases. Asked us to call if we find anything else during renovation. Said sometimes old houses don't give up their secrets all at once. We're almost done with repairs. House looks good, almost new in places. But every time we open a wall, every time we pull up old boards, I wonder what we'll find. Wonder if someday, someone will show up looking for something the Reeves left behind. Something worth killing to keep quiet. The hardware store owner stopped by yesterday. Said he heard we filled in the well. Seemed relieved. Said sometimes it's better not knowing what's below the surface. Better not knowing why people leave so suddenly. Why records disappear. Why questions go unanswered. He's probably right. But we keep finding things. Keep documenting. Keep wondering what else this house is hiding. Because sometimes renovation isn't just about fixing what's broken. Sometimes it's about uncovering what's hidden, even if you wish you hadn't. Third shift at Valley Fresh Food Processing pays better than anything else in the county. $22 an hour to monitor equipment, log temperatures, and make sure shipments go out on time. Perfect job for a night owl like me. Most nights it's just me, 3 other workers, and endless conveyor belts of local produce being packaged and frozen. At least that's how it used to be, until I started noticing the extra trucks. The plant processes vegetables from farms within a 100-mile radius. Everything's scheduled precisely. Trucks arrive during day shift with fresh produce. We process it overnight, and shipping goes out early morning. The system worked smoothly for the 15 months I'd been there. But last month, things changed. It started with a new supervisor, Dave Matthews, transferred from their Missouri plant. Clean-cut guy, military background, real stickler for procedure. First week, he reorganized all our shipping schedules. Said it would improve efficiency. Moved me from Dock 3 to monitoring Docks 6 through 8. That's when I noticed the unscheduled deliveries. Trucks would arrive around 2 a.m., always backing up to Dock 7, the only one without security cameras. Dave said it was a hardware issue, replacement parts on back order. The trucks were different from our usual carriers. Newer models, dark colors, no company logos. License plates always covered in mud or just missing entirely. First time it happened, I asked Dave about it. He said it was overflow from other plants. Temporary arrangement during harvest season. Made sense on paper. We sometimes helped other facilities during peak times, but these trucks never had proper paperwork. No cargo manifests, no weight records, nothing in our system. I started keeping my own log, just out of curiosity. 2 or 3 trucks per week, always between 2 and 4 a.m. They'd back up to Dock 7, stay exactly 40 minutes, then leave. No inspections, no processing time logged. Other workers avoided the area during these deliveries. One guy, Miguel from maintenance, told me to do the same. "Some things better not to see," he said one night, after a truck left. Better not to know. Next week, Miguel transferred to another plant. No goodbye, no notice. His locker was cleaned out overnight. When I asked HR about it, they said all transfers went through Dave now. The weight discrepancies caught my attention next. I've got a thing for numbers. It's why they put me on quality control. Our outgoing shipment weights weren't matching what came in, sometimes off by several tons. Produce has standard shrinkage rates during processing, but this was different. When I showed Dave the numbers, he said the scale needed calibration. Next day, those records were gone from the system. Other things started happening too. Equipment would be running in empty sections of the plant during delivery times. Security cameras would glitch for exactly 40-minute periods. New workers would show up for a few nights, handle the mystery deliveries, then disappear. No paperwork, no records. Last week, I was doing temperature checks when a truck arrived early. Caught a glimpse of the unloading before they closed the dock door. The boxes were wrong. Different sizes, no labels. Sealed differently than our usual packaging. Through the gap, I saw Dave supervising, wearing nitrile gloves. We never wear those for produce. That night, I found a phone on my desk. Basic burner model, 1 number programmed in. Text message said to keep it with me, wait for instructions. Next day, envelope in my locker, $5,000 in cash. Another message said there'd be more if I agreed to work Dock 7 exclusively. Instead of taking the deal, I spent 3 days gathering evidence. Took photos with my personal phone. Recorded times, weights, truck descriptions. Made copies of deleted records I'd saved. Almost got caught once. Dave came around a corner while I was photographing Dock 7's camera setup. Told him I was documenting the broken equipment for maintenance. I turned everything over to the FBI last week. Turns out they'd been watching the plant for months, building a case. Asked me to keep working, act normal. Said the operation wasn't just at our plant. Whole network of food processing facilities across the Midwest, all moving product disguised as produce shipments. The raid happened last night, during one of the mystery deliveries. Turns out those unmarked trucks were running drugs, using our legitimate shipments as cover. The deleted records, the weight discrepancies, all hiding their real cargo. They'd modified some processing equipment to package drugs, matching our regular boxes perfectly. They arrested Dave and 3 other supervisors. Found evidence linking them to trafficking operations in 5 states. Miguel hadn't transferred. He'd disappeared after threatening to report it. They found his car 2 states over last week, empty. FBI's still looking. The plant's shut down temporarily. Corporate's doing internal investigation, reviewing all their facilities. They offered me a promotion at another location. Said my cooperation saved them millions in potential legal issues. Even offered protection if I wanted it. I turned it down. Found work at a local garage instead. Pays worse, but at least I know what's coming in and going out. Regular cars, regular problems, everything logged and traced. Sometimes, though, driving home late at night, I see those trucks on the highway. Newer models, dark colors, Mud-covered plates. Wonder how many other processing plants they're using. How many other night shift workers are keeping logs, taking pictures, waiting for someone to ask the right questions. Dave's case goes to trial next month. FBI says I might have to testify. They found more phones in his office. Whole list of employees he was paying off. Some I worked with, never suspected. Guess that's how these operations work. Turn the right people, keep others afraid, profit from those who don't want to see. Because the thing about night shift, doesn't matter how much they pay you. Eventually, you have to decide what you're willing to not see. What secrets you're willing to keep for a paycheck. Me. I'd rather make less money turning wrenches than spend my nights wondering what's really in those trucks. They demolished Dock 7 last week, building a new one with better security, more cameras. But I drive past sometimes, late at night. Still see trucks pulled up there occasionally. Different company names now, but same style. Same mud-covered plates. Same 40-minute stops. Guess some things never change. Night shift just makes it easier to hide.